If you've watched my channel for any length of time, you know I love vintage cowboy boots. They're better, cheaper, and they'll last longer than a lot of the modern crap that's being produced today. So in this video, I want to rank the vintage cowboy boots that I have in my collection right now, and I want to talk about what does vintage even mean in cowboy boots. Let's get into it.
I'm just here to connect ya, and then I'll be on my way.
Hey everybody, my name is Jeremiah Craig. Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, please subscribe. And if you're a regular looking for even more content, I've been putting up a lot of stuff in the Boots and Ballads Bunkhouse, which is a Patreon-like membership program, except it's right in my website. Extra videos every week, extra live streams, even more access to me and more. So head on over to jeremiahcraig.com/membership and pick a preferred tier. I appreciate your support. It helps me continue doing everything that I do here online. Let's talk vintage boots. What is a vintage cowboy boot? What does it mean? Well, it's generally agreed upon in the clothing and accessory world that anything older than 20 years old is considered vintage, but younger than 100 years old. So anything older than 100 years old is basically an antique, but anything between 20 and 100 years old is considered vintage. A lot of these boots that are considered vintage boots will be used just because they're over 20 years old, but you can find slightly used vintage cowboy boots, and I've gone into detail about how you can identify slightly used in previous videos, and I'll link up those videos in the description if you're interested in that. But today, I want to go through some of my favorite vintage cowboy boots that I have in my collection right now, and I believe it's around 13, maybe 14, because there is one category that I kind of have two boots that are the same in just different colors. But usually in these ranking videos, I put up a score of what I've ranked them previously. And since these boots are so few and far between, and I'm not even sure that you'd be able to find them, I'm just going to rank them based off of what's my favorite. So this is a completely subjective rating, and maybe it'll give you some ideas of what to look for and what to expect if you're shopping for slightly used vintage boots on the secondhand marketplace. But I won't be ranking them with the scoring system that I've done in the past just because it wouldn't mean very much. So let's start with 13 and work our way up to number 1. This is the Double H 1608 Mock Toe Cowboy Boot. I love this boot. I know it's down at the bottom, but the design of this boot is so unique, and I was at a store in Brockport, New York. It was called Circle B Western Wear, and they had this boot on sale sitting in the back, basically in a clearance section, and it was like size 11.5D. So it could have fit, but it was a sloppy fit for me. And I was like, if I was to get this boot, I want it to fit really well. So I kept my eyes open, and sure enough, one day I came across this boot on eBay in my exact size of a 12B. And I don't know what it is about it, but just the mock toe is different. I love the look of it. This is a Double H boot that they don't make anymore. And it was made when they have all leather lining. A few years would pass after this boot was made, and they would start doing more cloth linings on the inside, but it's just a really cool design. The thing that I have against it though, and Double H has pretty much always been like this, is that they use a lot of synthetics in this boot, even back 20 plus years ago. So on the inside, there's a foam insole, which is okay, it's non-removable. But the thing that bothers me the most about it is that it has a plastic welt. And the plastic welt has cracked right here in a couple of places, which means that the potential for it to be repaired cheaply and get a new resole on here is very low. I'll probably have to have the cobbler put on a new welt that's actually leather if I wanted to roll with these again. And I am starting to lose traction on this rubber outsole. There's also a plastic heel here, so there's lots of synthetics here, but that was okay. I knew what I was expecting from a Double H boot because Double H still has a lot of synthetics in their boots, even though they're made in the USA. And plus, I picked these up on eBay for $45, so it wasn't really that big of a deal that it has synthetics and the welt has already broken, because for that cheap, I would totally buy this boot all over again, purely based off of the looks. So coming in last is the Double H 1608, but I love all these boots. I love them all, or else I wouldn't have them. So this is just last basically because that's how it ranks, but I wear this one a lot and I still love it quite a bit. Coming in at number 12 is another Double H boot. This is Double H model number 2305, and this was made in 2002, I believe, is what Double H told me when I sent them the codes inside the boot, and it's like a precursor to the Dylan. It doesn't have the ice outsole, so this is pre-ice outsole days, but again, it still has a plastic welt here. This one doesn't look like it's cracked yet, although it is pretty muddy, so it's hard to tell, but it also has a plastic heel. On the inside, it's leather lined in the top, but cloth lined around the foot, and this is a work boot through and through. It also has a steel toe, which is the only steel toe that I have. But still, I love the toe shape of this boot, and it's just a great working boot, and also has more traction than a lot of the other rubber outsole boots that I have. So I've been wearing this one quite a bit during the winter as well. Really nice boot here. Also made during a time where the top stitching here was done by hand. You can tell because the gaps between the lines kind of changes as the pattern progresses. So very cool that it's a hand-stitched top. I don't think Double H is doing that anymore, but I like the little human aspect to it, the little human imperfections. That's something that I really enjoy to see in vintage cowboy boots. I picked these up from Shop Goodwill for $49, and they were pretty much brand new. A lot of these boots are only slightly used, except the really old and rare ones. So usually I'm looking for boots that have their original outsole, doesn't look like they've been worn very much, and haven't been used very much. So $49 for a slightly used boot that is still practically new, I think that's a great deal. So that's the Double H 2305 coming in at number 12. Coming in at number 11 is the Justin Roper model number 3602. And this is the part of the video where all of these boots now are pretty much made exactly the same. Traditionally made. They got a hard leather insole in here. They've got a leather lining. And if you're gonna buy vintage cowboy boots, I think that the best boots to buy are traditionally made boots, just because the insole will reshape to your foot. You know, they don't come with as many bacterial problems. Leather doesn't hold bacteria in the same way that cloth does, okay? So if you were concerned about hygienics or whatever with used cowboy boots, all leather boots are the best way to go, especially slightly used boots. And like I said, you can tell a big difference between a used boot and a slightly used boot. I have the video in the description. The reason why this one comes in at number 11 is because I'm just not a big Roper fan. I don't really like them. They've never been like a favorite style of mine. But the fact that this is a Justin Roper, I needed it for my collection. Justin Ropers are classic, and they have a very significant time in history that, you know, really influenced Western wear and where it would go after the Roper. So I wanted a pair of Justin Ropers to have in my collection just because of the historical aspect of it, to experience it for myself, but it's not really my favorite, and I don't wear it very often. I do wear it time to time, but ropers, they don't give you a lot of arch support in general, and I like a little bit more arch support, and you get that from boots with kind of like a little bit higher of a heel, like 1.5 inches that's kind of angled. I like that feeling when I'm walking. So this isn't my favorite style, but still, it's nice to have in my collection. I'm glad that I have it just to experience the Justin Roper part of history. I picked these up from Shop Goodwill for $21 with shipping included. Justin Roper, model number 3602, coming in at number 11. Coming in at number 10 is this Dan Post made in Spain, model number 6676. And ever since I found out that Dan Post made boots in Spain, I always wanted a pair. I've heard that some of the best boots that Dan Post ever made was from their Made in Spain line. And from the Dan Post that I've tried, I would have to agree with that right now. I haven't tried all of them from every era, but I will say that they're definitely better than the ones they're making now, and I really appreciate how this fits and feels. I kind of made a compromise on this boot when I bought it because there was already a hole in the sole, and I had to get it resoled pretty quickly. And on top of that, the previous owner dyed them this reddish burgundy color. They were originally tan, and you can tell because the pull tabs on the inside were tan. So this was dyed by the previous owner, and it just kind of looks red now, which I'm not that big a fan of. I don't wear them very often because they are red. But I do have a project in mind where I will dye these black. So that way, maybe I'll want to wear them a little bit more. They have been a nice boot to wear for like Bills games. Like if I'm going out to a bar and there's a Bills game on, I'll usually try to wear a blue pair of boots or this red pair of boots just to match the colors and support the team. But when these are black, I have a feeling that I will wear them a lot more. So that's my goal. And I picked them up for $28 on Shop Goodwill. They have a few cracks in here in the leather. It's not the best condition ever, but I have boots with way more cracks, so it wasn't that big of a deal. And once I dye them black, you'll barely even be able to see the cracks. So this is the Dan Post made in Spain, model number 6676. Coming in at number 10. Coming in at number 9 is this Tony Lama, model number 6915, bone color cowhide. I picked these up from Shop Goodwill for $26, and they were in kind of rough shape when I picked them up, but I knew that they were in relatively good condition because the outsole is still only slightly used, and they had their original heel caps on here as well. So they weren't used very much, so I figured why not take a chance on them and see what I could do. The bone color leather was kind of dirty, so I cleaned them up and polished them. These toe tips came with the boot, and I've never had boots with toe tips on them. I've always thought they were just a little bit too flashy for me. They were corroded though, so I ended up cleaning them up, and they looked pretty good. Put them back on there after I cleaned up the leather, and it was basically a brand new boot after that. So I like them. They are a color that is kind of flashy. I don't wear them very often, but I'm happy that I have this color in my collection just because it's different, you know? And it's fun to wear on different occasions, but being up here in the Finger Lakes area of New York State, it gets really muddy, it gets really nasty, it gets snowy and salty, and that kind of stuff can stain boots like crazy. I kind of like the way these boots look, so I don't wear them very often for that reason, because there's lots of nasty dirt and mud and salt around here. So they do get a little bit of wear, but I don't wear them that often, which is why they rank where they do. But still, really like this boot, how it's made, and the fact that I got them for so cheap and they were basically new. Coming in at number 8 are two of pretty much exactly the same boot here. Both Tony Lama wingtips. And Both are slightly used, still had their original outsole on there, and I got them both from Shop Goodwill. I got this gray and black pair from Shop Goodwill for about $50, and I got this cognac and brown lizard wingtip boot from Goodwill for $93. So I bought this one first a few years ago, or a couple of years ago now, and I really wanted a boot like this. They don't really make them like this anymore. They do still have some wingtip boots out there, but this comes from a time where they were just so popular. This was popularized by the Urban Cowboy movie where John Travolta wore Tony Lama wingtip boots. He wore more bone-colored ones, but still, I like the gray and the cognac here. The cognac ones have a little bit higher of a heel. So this is about a 2-inch heel, and this is about a 1.5-inch heel. I like this shape a little bit better. So if I was to do like an 8.1 or an 8.2, I would rank this one just slightly higher than this, but they're made the same. They're exactly the same. And I love the fact that I have both of them in my collection. The wingtip is just a classic look, and I probably will stop with just these two colors because I can't see a reason to have more than 2 wingtips. I mean, I didn't really think that I would have much of a reason to have more than 1 wingtip, but this one was definitely a nice one to add, especially since I had just sold my gray ostrich boots and I didn't have any other gray boots. It's nice to have a pair of gray boots too. So I added these ones, and for $50, why not, really? So coming in at number 8 are these Tony Lama wingtip boots. This is model number 6914, and this is model number 6951. Coming in at number 7 is another Tony Lama boot. This is 3 Tony Lamas in a row. I love the way that these old Tony Lamas were made. This is model number 6250. Just a very simple gray, black, shrunken shoulder boot. This model used to be a nubuck bullhide, so it used to have sort of a fuzzy nature to it, but the previous owner probably conditioned it with something that wasn't a distressed leather conditioner, which kind of made it go away, which is fine. I'm cool with that. I still like the texture of it. I like the simplicity of it. I wear this a lot just for whatever reason. So this gets a lot of wear from me because it's just one of those boots that you can wear in any situation. You just throw them on and do whatever. It's got a nice leather. The shrunken shoulder bullhide is really comfortable and it's really durable. It can withstand a lot of random stuff. Sort of a kick around boot. Like, I don't really care what happens to it, but it's a great feeling boot and it's very comfortable. Similar to the wingtips, right? It has that sort of same heel here, but I feel like I could wear this in casual situations, and that's a more dressy option. So just the versatility of this Tony Lama and the leather of it makes it so much higher ranked than the other 2 Tony Lamas. My wife got me these. I put them on my Christmas list a few years ago. $45 on eBay. So not bad at all, especially since it still has its original outsole and the original heel cap. Had to break these in a little bit more on the inside, but they are feeling great now. So coming in at number 7, I believe, is that right? The Tony Lama 6250. Coming in at number 6 are these chocolate bullhide Cristobal Romero boots that were made in the 80s from the Don Quixote factory that's down in Mexico. Don Quixote makes a ton of boots for a ton of different brands up here in the US, and they make incredible traditionally made boots. So when Blake Baker, who has JW Boot Company, and Don Quixote makes their boots, I wanted to get a pair of Cristobal Romero boots because I wanted to see how similar they are from when they were making them in the 80s. So this is Cristobal Romero's bootmaker line, the Cristobal Romero, but it still came from the same Don Quixote factory and family brand. A lot of the family is still working there today. So I really like the history of this boot, the Mexican boot factory history of this boot, and it is made incredibly, and they're still making the boots the same today. If you want to check out the video I did on this. I got this one for $195 on eBay, so whoever had it before me definitely knew what they had, and it was still a very reasonable price considering that it has its original outsole and heel cap. And if you tried to get a new Cristobal Romero boot or a new Don Quixote boot, it might be anywhere between $500 or $700. So definitely still a great deal, but a little bit on the higher end of the prices that I've been paying for things earlier in this video. So Cristobal Romero chocolate bullhide boots coming in at number 6. Coming in at number 5 are these black bullhide Nocona boots. This has a special place in my heart because I traded my buddy Aaron for another pair of Noconas, for these Noconas, and it was the first boot that I ever owned that was my actual true size of a 12B. And I got to actually experience what it felt like to wear my real size, and it was a game changer for everything. I mean, all of these boots are 12Bs, pretty much. Maybe one 12.5B, but all of them are 12Bs now, and it's a game changer. And that's another great thing about vintage boots is that they were making all of the sizes. So I've actually found Nocona boots that were quadruple A width. So they were making everything from quadruple A to quadruple E back in the day. So it's nice to experience your real width. I would highly recommend that if you can't find your real width anywhere, to go to the secondhand marketplace to see what you can find, because it seriously changed the game for me. So I have a really nice connection with this boot. I'm so thankful for this boot, and I had to experience what it actually felt like to wear my real size. So this one comes in at number 5 in my vintage cowboy boot ranking. Coming in at number 4 are these vintage Hondo boots. This is a vintage black ostrich Hondo, model number 7670, which was made in the late 70s or early 80s. I love the feel of a vintage ostrich boot. For some reason, a lot of the modern cowboy boot makers, their ostrich feels thicker and stiffer than it did back in the day. This is such a supple leather. It's so soft. Also, this is another boot that you can tell has been hand-stitched tops here, because there's certain gaps in between the rows here, and I love that little bit of personality, that little human aspect to the boot. I acquired these in a trade for another pair of ostrich boots, and I'm definitely super thankful that I have these in my collection. It's a nice piece of Hondo history, and they are so comfortable and look so great. So the Hondo 7670 full quill ostrich boots comes in at number 4. Coming in at number 3 are these vintage Justin elephant boots. This is model number 9035. I absolutely love this classic J-toe shape. I believe Justin at the time was also calling it an X-toe. So this is a nice pointed or pointed round toe shape. Just beautiful. This is one that had been resold before I got it, so it doesn't have its original outsole or its original heel cap, but when you get a boot from the 60s or 70s that's so rare like this, elephant boot, you have to make compromises, and it's so comfortable. I don't know what they're doing to the boots nowadays, but they definitely don't make them like this anymore. I put this on and it's like, wow, that's comfortable. Doesn't pinch my toes at all. It's a perfect fit. And the elephant is already broken in, which is very nice, because if you get a new elephant boot, it takes forever to break them in. You know what they say, you don't break elephant in, it breaks you. And if you get a pair of elephant boots that are already broken in, and if you find a pair from the 60s or 70s, chances are they're already broken in. It is way easier to start enjoying them right away. I've tried to break in new elephant before. It's true The fact that this is already broken in is a game changer. I love the color of it. I love the feel of it. This is a comfortable boot. I also acquired these in a trade. So I'm gonna get a lot of love out of these ones for years to come because vintage boots, they just last. They've lasted this long and there's no reason why they can't last for the rest of my life if I take care of them. So coming in at number 3 is this vintage Justin Elephant boot, model number 9035. Coming in at number 2 are these vintage Cowtown whale boots. Whale boots, that's right, this is beluga leather. And I also acquired these in a trade. This is pre-ban whale. So whale was banned for use in anything around the 1972, I believe. So these were probably made in the late 60s. And another leather that is very, very thick and tough. I wouldn't have wanted to break these in, just like I wouldn't have wanted to break in the Elephant. In fact, this is still very thick when I try to wear them. Also, not the original sole or heel cap, but that's okay. This is a pre-ban. It's a very rare leather to find in cowboy boots just because it's so old. So I think it's okay that it's been resold, but for any of those cowhide boots, I probably wouldn't do it. I mean, outside the made in Spain one. So I guess all of my rules have certain times to break them if I'm feeling like it. But for the most part, usually I don't like to buy boots that have been resold. But when it comes to a pre-ban rare leather like this, I gotta go against the rules. So it's a very thick, durable leather. It's very comfortable. I don't wear it that much just because it's so special, but because it is so special and one of the highlights of my collection, I had to rank this one second. It is the Cowtown pre-ban whale boot, model number W376. And my favorite vintage cowboy boot that I have in my collection is this Justin, model number 9206, full pre-ban sea turtle. Check it out. So we don't just have sea turtle leather here on the foot and counter. The top is also patchwork sea turtle. This is full sea turtle through and through. Sea turtle was banned for use in cowboy boots in 1977. So this was probably made in the early 70s, and it's a Justin boot. It definitely has a lot of wear here. So on the inside, when I first got it, I could feel the impression of the previous owner's foot. That's okay, it's traditionally made. It will eventually form to my foot. Also, again, does not have the original outsole. It's been resold. Also has a new heel cap on here, but for a rare leather like this and a rare boot where it has even the top is sea turtle, I had to go for it. Sold a pair of Lucchese's and I used the money from that to buy these for $517 at Shop Goodwill. I got into a little bit of a bidding war down at the last second, but I'm happy that I was able to win these, and they are definitely the highlight of my vintage boot collection. This is my full sea turtle Justin boot, model number 9206. And that's my entire vintage collection that I have at the moment. Who knows what else I will get in the future, so maybe we'll do an update video in the future. Until then, let me know what your favorites are, or what your favorite vintage cowboy boot finds are as well down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Ain't it smart these days to go vintage when all these new boots are a scam? They don't make them like they used to, and the prices are fair, so I stick to vintage when I can. Thanks so much for watching today. Why don't you check out this other cowboy boot video up here, or I got a music video down here I think you might enjoy. Don't forget to subscribe up here, and I will see you in the next one. Peace. Have a good one.